Okay, so disclaimer before I start, I didn't actually break my arm. It's more of a fracture. But since no one knows what a fracture is, I'm just going to say I broke my arm. And for simplicity's sake. So I don't want to hear anyone say, actually, you fractured your limb in which you grab stuff with. So pronounce it correctly. Because if you do, I will break your arm and end your lineage. Do I make myself clear? Good. On with the show. So have you ever broken your arm? Well, don't worry. I most definitely have. And it sucks. And I remember it pretty well. And considering I was 5 at the time, yeah, I think I would remember it. So I was at my grandparents' house with my brother. And we were pretty hyper children. I feel bad for anyone who took care of us. But hey, it worked out in the end. I matured. A little bit. So, I think a combination of me being hyper and the fact it was Friday didn't really help things. But on top of that, I also had Minecraft on the PS3 coming to our house. Now, this was the day that we would buy the game. So, of course, I was super hype and excited. And Minecraft was my favorite game at the time, so that really didn't help things. And I could look at this and just be like, oh, I was just a stupid idiot. No, I don't even think this could justify how I broke my arm as a mere little accident or whatever. Because the way I broke my arm is stupid. So, I was so excited that I decided to run around in the house. Okay, now, my grandma, being responsible and the best, said, no corres en la casa. Now, at 5 years old, I didn't really have a concept of being smart or obedient, so I just kept running around, and she kept telling me to stop, but of course, I really didn't. And eventually, my brother decided to lay in the area where I was running. Now, if you were in my shoes, you would probably have been like, okay, I'm gonna stop, and I guess just not run anymore. But me, no. I decided that it would be brilliant, absolutely outstanding idea of mine to start jumping over him. Now, eventually, I think he started getting tired of this, and he saw that I was starting to jump over him. So, I could only imagine him being like, oh, this fool's jumping over me. Well, no matter. I'm gonna get him. Next time he jumps, I'll set a trap for him. So, I ran and jumped, and that's when I realized that he kicked up his leg, and my foot got stuck on his leg. I fell, and now, to say that I was in pain, like, just a little bit is kind of an understatement. It's probably the biggest understatement of the year, because it was pretty bad, especially being a 5-year-old gremlin like me. So, as a natural 5-year-old started to do, I started to cry and scream. Now, my grandparents heard me, and they came right over, and they tried to see what was wrong, but I couldn't stop screaming, so eventually they just had to call my dad, because they knew I was kind of in a lot of pain, to see if he could take me to the ER. The van arrived, and they took me to the ER, and they got my arm scanned, which I kind of fussed about, and then they had come to the conclusion that I had broken my arm. So they wrapped up my arm in a cast, and they sent me on my merry way. And I really can't say, like, oh, this was just an accident. I bet you're probably thinking, like, oh, wow, this guy's an idiot for breaking his arm like that. Man, he must feel like a real idiot retelling this story. And I completely agree. This is, without a doubt, the dumbest way to break an arm. Now, if anyone's ever broken an arm like this, shout out to you, because, like, it's just, like, how do you do that? I look back on this. I talk with my brother about this, and he's always like, "Oh yeah, it's your fault." And yes, it is my fault because I was an idiot. I think that's kind of it. I could go on like stories of what happened to me while I was in the cast, because I mean that was a whole ordeal. But I don't know, and I really don't feel like animating it all. So, oh well. I guess it will be another time. You know, there is this one time where when we came home from the hospital or the ER or whatever, my neighbors were outside and they were like, "Whoa, dude, what happened to your arm?" And I was like, "Yeah, I broke it." And they were like, "Oh my gosh, can we sign it?" Like, this was the first time I've ever heard someone say, "Can we sign your cast?" So I think I felt pretty cool, even though now I feel like an absolute moron. Oh well, I can't really say anything else about it. Stay safe and eat apple. I don't know.